Hi, today we're going to look at HX Audi from UVI, a brand new virtual instrument synth. At the core and heart, the HX Audi is a modern reimagination of the ARP Odyssey from 1972. The ARP Odyssey was actually one of the very first duophonic synths, which meant that you could play two notes at the same time and divide the oscillators between the notes. Now the digital rendition in HX Audi obviously handles polyphony beautifully. Now, while talking some history, I can also mention that the ARP Odyssey was also developed as a direct competitor to the Minimoog, as a more portable and affordable synth. I know there's probably already 411 different videos breaking down every aspect of HX Audi. So in my video here today, I'm gonna first give you a quick brief overview of the synth plugin, and then we're gonna look at the important thing. We're gonna listen to the sound and the different sounds in the factory bank, and I'm gonna try to play some nice melodies for you. Make sure you watch until the end so you don't miss out on my final conclusion and some pros and cons on the plugin. Before we continue, a quick note about today's sponsor, which is DistroKid. And personally, I'm using DistroKid to distribute all my music to the streaming platforms like Apple Music, Spotify. During the years, I've obviously used a multitude of different platforms to distribute my music, and to me, DistroKid is just a great one-stop shop solution to get your music to the streaming platforms. And you also get your music to TikTok and Instagram and all these more modern social platforms. Okay, so if you make music and you want to use DistroKid to distribute your music to the different streaming platforms, you can use my discount code and get a discount on your first year membership. Okay, so let's continue and look at HX Audi. Okay, so the installation of HX Audi is pretty straightforward. You make use of the UVI portal application, and we install HX Audi or download the HX Audi via this application. And in my installation here, I'm running HX Audi within the Falcon synth, but you can of course also load HX Audi within the UVI workstation. Okay, so here we have a HX Audi loaded within the Falcon synth, and this is the main page of HX Audi. And we instantly have some controls available. We have a tone control to like filter the sound, and we have a phaser, a crusher effect, echo shifter, and a cloud, some kind of cloud shimmer reverb, which sounds really nice on most of the patches. In the middle, we can gain access to the different presets and the different folders or categories for the presets. And there's a whole bunch of different fine-tuned presets that comes with HX Audi. Next up, we have the edit page, gain access to the actual sound generators and the oscillators. And there's a few different shapes. And you also have a color option to brighten or make the sound more like full and warm. You have a pitch knob and also an oscillator effect, similar to like Serum and Zebra and some other synths. Below the two oscillators, we have control for envelope and also a pitch control. We can also gain access to a sample player, and there's also a whole bunch of different samples that comes with HX Audi. And you also have a like separate control for the sample part of the synth. In the middle, we have the mixer with controls for volume and on and off for the different sound sources, like the oscillator 1, oscillator 2, noise, and the sample oscillator. And if you want to modulate the parameter, you can look to the left side of this of the knobs, and you might see these small dots. And if you hover above this, you can see You have control for velocity, mod wheel, LFO-A, LFO-B, and step mode 1 and step mode 2. And if you hold one of these rings and drag up and down, you can adjust the parameter value. And you can also gain access to a more like visual display for the different modulations if you click this little icon, modulation panel button. So it's a little bit easier to see how much stuff is modulated on that parameter. Then to the right side we have the oscillator filter, and this is a modeled filter of the ARP Odyssey. So you have a low pass filter, and then you have a high pass filter, but without resonance obviously. You can activate, deactivate key tracking, and then you have a separate filter for the sample part, which can be nice if you want to create really like complex sounds. Then at the bottom we have the controls for the different LFOs and the step modulators, or the step sequencers. The next page is the effect page, delay, reverb, drive, chorus, flanger, equalizer, and a maximizer. Then finally we have the ARP page. The arpeggiator is quite complex, as you can see. You have a whole bunch of different presets, and if you look at the arpeggiator itself, you have a lot of different like link buttons. We have modes, harmonize, basic, chords, bends, and octave shifts, the gate and the panning. So you can do a lot of crazy stuff here with the arpeggiator. And then finally there's an options or settings page to control the voices, the bending, and the kind of polyphony or voice mode. Okay, so that's it for the sound demo. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about my thoughts and the pros and cons that I feel is worth mentioning on HX Audio. And firstly, I think that UVI really tossed up a great sounding plugin here. It definitely sounds crisp and has some really ballsy sounds in there. Except for the sounds that you find in the patch book, which is really some cheesy sounding sounds. Just take a look at this 60C piano. But aside from the patch book patches, I feel that any of the other categories here features a ton of great sounding patches. Especially I'm very fond of the pads and the plug and belts, and of course also the sequence that are peg-gated categories. And the basses are also fat and meaty. Now regarding the user interface and the user experience, I feel it's quite easy to get your head around this plugin, and it's no biggie to create your own patches. You can just go in here and select the HX Audio in it, and you'll just get the basic patch with one sawtooth activated, so you can get. While working with the HX Audio, I did find some oddities, or bugs if you will, and that is if you change the low pass envelope depth. You can hear some crackles while we change the depth. And another thing that came to my mind here is all these different modulation targets or modulation sources. And it's quite hard sometimes to understand what is modulated and how much. And one way they could like enhance this feature and make it more visual for the user is that if you hover above, say, LFO-A or LFO-B, all the targets would light up and show the amount. So if we hover above LFO-B, all the targets with the amount for LFO-B would light up here on the interface. So we could see all the amounts that's modulated with this parameter. And the same thing for step 1 and step 2. And that will give the user a very quick overview of what parameter is modulated with that parameter and to what amount. Right, so finally I feel that the HX Audio sound as good as many of the other like ARP Odyssey plugins that I tried. And another version that I also like is the Korg Gadgets ARP Odyssey rendition. I usually run Korg Gadgets on the iPad, and one of the synths I often come back to on the iPad is of course the ARP Odyssey, because it sounds so crisp and yeah, high fidelity. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope you had a nice time watching my little dabble here on the HX Audio plugin. And as always, please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, hit a like and that notification bell so that you get notice as soon as I release new videos. And if you want to support my work here on YouTube, you can always become a patron at patreon.com/Gelleheim, or you can buy any of my courses or sample packs at edu.morningdewmedia.com. Okay, thanks for watching today. My name is Matthias. See you in the next video. Bye.